Michigan University, and that's what it looked like 2 days before when I left home. My talk is about human resource management practices, specifically the retention of human capital assets. There's a lot of written HRM literature about recruitment and even development, but not so much about retaining, the importance of retaining people in the organization. But the world's moved well beyond Maslow's first and even second level improvement, and in offering training to develop that talent would be ill-served if they then lose that employee to a rival organization that offers more job satisfaction. And so my paper looks at several critical steps along the path of helping to ensure that after an organization has attained a talented individual, they'll be able to keep that person and reap the returns of that initial investment. 50 years ago, few writers considered the importance of retaining individuals in an organization. Back then, they weren't called human resource managers, they were just personnel managers. I was one a long time ago in 1970. The job was basically to get a person to fit a particular job. And if that person had the right skills, they were hired. And that was all we considered. But my job pretty much stopped there. In that world of limited opportunities, if you gave somebody a job and a salary and maybe a raise once in a while, you could count on them staying with your company. But organizations today operate in a world of constant change and more opportunity. Technology and society are changing more rapidly than they ever have before. The world of management has advanced quite a bit since those days. The increased importance placed on the effective management of employees in world-class companies has redefined the role of human relations or human resource managers. Organizations that have not adjusted to this new reality are disappearing, are simply going out of business. Today, the human resource manager, the specialist, still needs to fill the job openings, but that's only the first step. Employee training and development are really needed, essential components of any successful HRM program, because developing human capital is more important than perhaps the most critical aspect of human resource management is the ability to retain quality employees once they've been recruited and trained. If an organization invests time and money in recruiting and training, but then that employee is not happy and leaves for a better job, it results in a net loss of assets for that organization. This is a significant problem. It's not like 5 or 10%. The Society on Human Resource Management found just alone from 2005 to 2006, companies lost almost 30% of their human capital investment because of employee turnover. That's a huge loss. So the consultative group on international agricultural research, which I hadn't really heard of until about 5 years ago, has done an awful lot of research on human resource management, and they decided to develop a bunch of metrics for different performance of HR in their organization. And the very first item on that metric was staff turnover and retention. So that was the importance that certainly CIGAR attaches to it. So what are the necessary components? How do you do this? How do you keep people there in your organization? The beginning of the retention process probably starts right at the initial employment interview. It should be more than merely trying to find somebody to fit a particular job. The interviewer should use the occasion to assess as much as possible what the applicant expects from a position with that organization, and then offer an employment package that would most likely satisfy those needs. In other words, you're fitting the package to the individual instead of the individual to the job. Salary is one aspect. Everybody likes money. As recently as 30 years ago, college graduates flocked to the Thai Civil Service Commission hoping to get a job. And the commission always had a steady flow of people coming out of the major universities, the top universities. But today that's changed. Top graduates are recruited by businesses, and the government can no longer wait around for good, gifted people to apply for a job in the public sector. But money may not be sufficient inducement to get the people to work for your organization, let alone have the kind of organizational commitment that will have them stay there once employed. Walt Disney once said, you reach a point where you don't work for money. Today's workers bring a lot more to their employers, but they also demand a lot more in return. One of the expectations is to be given more flexibility to be able to achieve their own personal goals, whatever that might be. The pivotal elements of the offer package of today focus on tailoring the job to the individual needs of the employees in the workforce. And during employment, there's not a whole lot of agreement about concerning the importance of company loyalty. Of course, it's also called organizational commitment, although the preponderance of evidence does suggest that is probably the most important component when it comes to somebody staying with the company being able to retain that employee. Many people stay with an organization when the first time they're hired until they retire, but many others do not. There are a number of strategies that have been developed to assist in developing this organizational commitment. It is in large part dependent on human resource management practices within the organization. Major research study of 679 public sector managers in 3 different government agencies confirmed that career-related organizational practices and relationships impacted their staying in the organization. Specifically, managers who scored higher in career decision-making, self-efficacy, career integration, commitment to that organization and their lifestyle and work-life balance were 63 to 69% more apt to stay with that organization. So research is needed to identify the type of work environments that help create a greater sense of employee connectedness with the organization. And one important factor is upper management needs to be in contact with the rank and file employees. Now, downsizing, we had a lot of that in America. It means cutting out middle management, basically, and creating flatter organizational structures. It's much easier to have that high-level, low-level contact when you don't have so many layers in between. Arinya here in Thailand said leaders should get closer to the good people, and this allows us to identify and touch with their individual needs and provide whatever it is that creates job satisfaction for them. Also, there are others that believe most employees seek a larger voice in organizational affairs and suggest that decentralization of decision-making authority effectively responds to that desire. The practice of asking employees, though, for their advice didn't happen 50 years ago, but it does produce an important positive for the organization, that is emotional attachment. Everett noted, emotions are disappearing from our Western corporate culture, and as these waves of globalization come here in both Thailand and all of Southeast Asia, unfortunately, emotions may be disappearing here too. But emotional attachment to the organization, to services and products of the company, while getting less, is certainly important. And excellence in execution is seldom rewarded. But the simple task of asking employees for advice produces the additional advantage of helping to create a feeling that management cares. Oh, they care about me. That's a good thing. And increase employee connectedness, a sense of belonging to and an emotional attachment to the organization on the part of the employee. Asserts that great leaders share certain common beliefs. Among those are listen to people, listen to help the speaker get what he wants, listen to learn, not to confirm your preset beliefs. And most of all, listening shows great respect to the other person. All of this helps build a sense of organizational commitment on the part of the employee. Another important aspect of organization is that is committed to the betterment of the employees is training. And then you would be able to hope for a higher degree of organizational commitment from them. Leaders must make sure all employees have the appropriate resources, including technology, as well as personal development opportunities. We all appreciate if somebody gives us a chance to better ourselves. The human resource development could strategically reduce costs associated with turnover by designing career development programs so that managers have greater opportunities to identify career paths and achieve their career goals within their current organization. If they do have, they're much less likely to look for other organizations where they can find those opportunities. And you found that the employees exhibited the highest organizational commitment when they perceived a higher learning culture and when they were supervised in a supportive fashion. And employee turnover intention to leave and go to another organization was fully 100% mediated by organizational commitment. So overall, 43% in the variance of organizational commitment was explained by organizational learning culture and by LMX, which is leader-member exchange, and the quality of that. Employees tend to value training for its personal development. Now, organizations want to train you so you can help them make more money. The 9th National Development Plan, NASDP plan, talked about human resource development, so you can help the country. But employees, the people themselves, tend to value training for its personal development potential. The results of one study in Malaysia showed that employees were much more receptive to training when their preferences were taken into consideration and when they were allowed to participate in the pre-training programs. Final note on the importance of training is that employees who are properly trained to be the first of what Gans called essential conditions for an empowered organization. Varner noted that empowering people typically refers to the process of shifting power from managers down to people down at the lower level, helping people get in touch with their own personal power. Enabling people involves them to develop the competencies they need to manage this additional power and autonomy. Modern HRM theories embrace the idea of and organizations are now granting employees empowerment, which here is defined as providing workers with the skills and authority to make decisions that would traditionally have been made by managers. A study of public sector employees in India found that public sector firms face challenges in attracting and retaining talented personnel. It's difficult to attract and retain the best talent that's available in the country without providing them a challenging and enriching job content. So employees are unlikely to intend to leave an organization where they have their needs for efficacy met by their job responsibilities. The conclusion basically is that employee retention would seem to hinge on a high level of employee